out there. Welcome to another edition of Uncensored Solar TV, brought to you by my amazing team here at Solar Wolf Energy. And today, you're asking, should I buy stock in a solar company? Definitely maybe. How's that? Well, it depends, of course, on the company. Duh. But the truth is, it really does. And there are different sectors within renewable energy and solar, more specifically, in how their model, what it is they do for a business, how they generate capital and revenue, and what do they do with that capital once they have generated that revenue, and what are they going to do with it when things go bad, like the economy as it is dipping right now, right? So we'll go and break it down to sectors here. So we have within solar, which is a renewable energy, we have solar, and then we'll start with installation companies. So there are a few publicly traded installation companies. That is the bread and butter, okay? You have Sunrun, you have Vivint, you have RGS, which I think is still publicly listed, but it's gone for the most part. You have, I'm sure there's a few others. I would caution you, BlackRock over at Vivint, and Lynn is doing a great job at Sunrun, but I would caution you and keep in mind, I own a solar installation business. I would caution you to invest in a publicly traded solar installation business. Now Tesla, which previously was Solar City, as you guys saw, they were letting the candle at both ends. It was a race to the bottom. It was what they call the solar coaster, as what we have in the industry. This was terrible. If you can look back on their 8Ks and their quarterlies, their annuals, their financials were just atrocious, as are most solar installation companies. They're basing their hopes and dreams and their quarterly calls on how much they're going to put in and how much we've sold. This is a terrible metric in which to measure your business in. There are so many other things I think you can measure your solar installation company in. Unfortunately, when they do the quarterly calls, that's what I'm concerned about versus what Wall Street is telling you doesn't really all come together in a very clean, transparent way. They don't go over in detail or try to hide, and some will tell you occasionally, how many cancellations they had. Now, if you remember, years back, Solar City was actually investigated for doing and inflating numbers. Or, as if you understand solar enough to know that on the solar lease side of things, why they did that. I won't get into too many details about that. That's perhaps another episode for another day. We'll break that down. But today, we want to go over investing in solar companies. So with the solar installation side of the business, it's pretty gritty. It comes down to pennies per watt. And as you scale, the margins become less per watt. You have to have more and more people on the teams, more and more trucks. The required capital to keep it going raises. The amount of commitment in resources and assets that you have to keep purchasing, which if you purchase vehicles and you pay for them in whole, it's considered an asset. Versus if you have to make payments, it becomes a liability. But the truth is, a vehicle paid for or not, it might be an asset in a balance sheet, but in the working side of solar, and this is why you need to look at things as a solar installer coming to you as to why solar installation companies that are publicly traded don't look at things. When they have vehicles, if it's paid for, it's considered an asset. Like I said, it's still an expense. It requires fuel, it requires maintenance, it requires taxes on it for driving on the roads, it requires insurance on it, it requires somebody to sit in it and drive to and from. There are tolls, there are so many things that vehicle just constantly consumes day in, day out, week after week, and then eventually you have to replace it anyway. The ladder racks, tooling inside, all these other things, you have lettered up, decal, whatever. These are all liabilities, and yet on these publicly traded companies, it's showing as an asset, something I want you to consider. Now that's the solar installation side. I would stay clear away from that. You also have companies like BlackRock that invest in solar farms, community solar. This is a better play. If you're gonna invest in solar financing is a better strategic move. Couple of reasons why. Most solar financing companies are going to be what they call a broker, which is A company like us might need a solar financing partner. So we go to one of the many, we partner with a few, and we go to one of the many. They provide that. They provide a portal for our teams to go on, for the homeowner, the customer to go on. You can see your bill, your amortization rate, you can see what you owe, you can see that payment schedule, how it works, you can see your tax incentives and things like that, your loan payments. Those are great. So with this, there are obviously fees. Every bank, every underwriter, every brokerage has fees. That's how they make their money. And they deserve to get it because they're providing capital to you in a way that you wouldn't normally be able to get. So can you imagine if you wanted to just lend somebody $200? Not a big deal. They don't pay it back. It's not going to put you in the poorhouse. But what if they came to you and said, hey, I need $2 million, and all you had was $2 million? You would want some kind of a surety that you're going to get that money back. Now, if you're foolish, you would give somebody a loan for all of your assets. That's crazy. You wouldn't do that. But let's just say in this particular case that you do. You have $2 million. Somebody comes and wants to borrow that $2 million from you. You would need some kind of assurance, some way to claw back, some kind of an asset that you can maybe call back if you need to offset the expense or foreclose, like they do with property and vehicles or whatnot. That being said, solar companies put the risk and they put the clawback on the materials on the roof. This is something you should pay attention to. So a solar company, a solar finance company, is going to give you a loan. Let's just say in this case it's $30,000. Now you get the tax credit, the ITC, you send that in like a good boy and girl, and you get 26% off that. Maybe your state has some incentives, you send that in. And now let's just say your $30,000 solar array, for conversation purposes, is down to 20. After a couple of payments, you're just below 20 grand. Now, if in year 2 you default and you don't make any payments, the solar finance company now has to pay an installer to go out and remove that off of your roof. This is a bit of a gray area. Is your roof now going to leak because there's a billion holes in your roof? You know, used solar panels aren't obviously, there's not a lot of demand for them. So what does that company do with them? It's really a loss for them. And they're hoping that you pay your bill because you've seen the value if it's been well represented by the solar sales company and / installation company. If they've shown you the value, if they've broken down the bill for you, here's what you're paying, it goes up 3, 4, or 5% every year, here's your fixed rate loan payment for the next 10, 20, whatever, however that is. If you've seen the value, you're going to keep paying. But if you can't or what have you, please, the first thing you need to do is reach out to this company and say, I'm having trouble. Maybe they'll work with you. They most likely will. They want to keep you as a customer. They don't want the asset back. They want you to keep it. They want you to continue using it. They'd rather the payments. So if they do have to do this, it's a loss for them. So that's a risk these solar finance companies are taking. And for that risk, they should have a fee. I agree with that, as I think you would too. You don't work for free. You don't put up risk for free. Why should they? So these solar finance companies are brokers. So they provide capital through an underwriter like JP Morgan or Bank of America, several different venues that will provide the capital. And of course, they want a fee or an APR interest rate, as they should get. So this is how the model works as a whole. That said, this is where if you're going to invest some money into the solar industry, I would prefer you to put your money. And I would say that as someone who's putting their money where their mouth is. I'm an investor in solar, but not in the installation side, only of our own business. I'm obviously an investor in this company. I am the investor in this company. But the point is, on a publicly traded scale, I think there's a lot of dilution of shareholders. I'll give you an example. If someone is my customer and there's a problem and their salesperson can't help them, a project manager can't help them, ultimately it stops with me. I will get on the phone and speak to that customer. It's accountability. When you have a massive scaled and massive amount of shareholders, that's a problem. You can't have that. So we've kicked that to the side. We're looking at solar financing. That's an area that's attractive. Here's how it works. Very much like every other loan or mortgage that you might have, which is the brokers might have a fee of, we'll just say 10%. So the solar loan is for $40,000. They then take the $40,000 from the underwriter and then give it to the installer. You now have a solar array. They've made a flat fee from that. It's a really simple business model when you can figure out how much you're able to make on a deal before, then you can tailor your expenses to and become really profitable on each and every deal, or marginally profitable but at scale. It's a choice they can make. I like that. Another avenue in which you can invest in solar is the materials, balance of system, and cost of goods side. And what I'm talking about here is the solar panel manufacturers, the inversion companies, the energy battery backup companies. You know, I'll give you an example. SunPower. SunPower is coming out with a battery. They make solar panels as well. This is actually a pretty good company overall. Their numbers, I think, could do a little bit better. I think they need to tighten up as a company, but their product, no question, speaks for itself. They have the best solar panel in the world. They're coming out with their own energy storage, which I'm yet to see, and I hope to get some numbers and some facts and figures for you guys on that soon as well. But as a whole, it's a nice model where they have everything in-house and their quality control they can manage. SolarEdge, which is another company, they do the inversion. They go from DC, which is what your solar panel receives, and it converts it to AC, alternating current for your home. This is another great company. Again, on this company, if you do break down the balance sheet, their net numbers quarterly are quite attractive. They're a profitable company. Profitable companies can offer you peace of mind when you get a warranty. I think that's important. So this is a company that I have also invested in off and on throughout the years. There are some companies in that same inversion space that only recently their balance sheet has begun to look better. For a long time, they looked really scary, and that's Enphase. And I hope from someone in the industry that Enphase continues to do well. I hope they don't have a repeat of what they went through 18 months ago when they were basically borderline bankrupt. I hope that they learned, and I hope they continue on the path that they're on. So as you can see, you can have two companies within one segment of an entire sector that can have two different results. It's why you need to talk to investors and people within the industry to make a real sound decision on whether or not you should buy stocks in renewable energy, more specifically solar. So the three real areas to invest in solar, more specifically, would be the cost of goods, the material side of the business, the financing side, and the installation side. All that said, my favorite to invest in is the financial side. That's where I would put my money for years to come. These community solar farms, the utility scale solar, these things are still producing. Long while oil is going up and down, and oil's negative per barrel, and it's up $30 a barrel, it's up to $100 a barrel, what have you. Solar financing for the next foreseeable future is the way to go. That said, I want to cut this off and just wrap it up. And I want to say, if you have any questions or comments about how to invest in solar, please send them to us. We love the questions. And from all of us here at Solar Wolf Energy, thank you for watching another episode of Solar TV.